Welcome to the Law Firm Owner Podcast, powered by Velocity Work, for owners who want to grow a firm that gives them the life they want. Get crystal clear on where you're going, take planning seriously, and honor your plan like a pro. This is the work that creates velocity. Welcome to this week's show, everyone. We have a special guest, Christine Diorio. Hi, Christine.
Hello.
Thanks so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
Heck yeah. Your fellow Master Group member, Bobby Botnick, just came on, and now you're coming on, which is great. And I thought it would be cool to highlight a couple or few members that have done the work and have been in for a bit and can talk about their experience with their firm, what it's been like to grow as an owner, some of the things that you've experienced, all of that. So I'm really glad you're here to share with people. And it's kind of like lifting the curtain a little bit. So they get to learn about you, and then it lifts the curtain a little bit on like, what the heck comes out of the work that you guys do in Mastery Group, and what kind of people are in there and all of that. So, okay. Will you tell everybody where you live, what you do, that jazz?
Well, I'm Christine Diorio. I have a small law practice in Tampa, Florida. I practice mostly family law, estate planning, and criminal defense. And I opened 2.5 years ago, right in the middle of COVID, and then didn't know anybody in Tampa. I'd only been in Tampa for a few years. I'd been on maternity leave and decided to open my own firm. I had practiced up in Gainesville, Florida for the first part of my career. About 8 years, I was a prosecutor, then I was a public defender. I knew I was burnt out from that type of work. It's really great work. It's important work, but I was kind of burnt out from it. During my maternity leave, I started a photography business and loved it. It's really hard to make a real living doing photography, but it taught me business. And having been a government attorney for so long, and my family is in the law. So my mom was the chief deputy clerk of the court up in Alachua County for 48 years. She retired in 2016. My stepfather was a county court judge. He's now a senior judge. So there were no entrepreneurs in our family. It was always government work. But when I opened my photography business while I was staying at home with my kids, I have 3 children, I realized what it takes to run a business, to market a business, word of mouth growth, and that kind of thing. And so when kind of the time came to go really decide what I wanted to do, I thought, you know what, I'm going to open my own law firm. And so I used a lot of what I learned in my photography business when I opened up the firm. And now 2.5 years later, we're off to the races and doing really well.
Yeah. So you started this in 2020, right?
Yes.
Towards the end of 2020?
So I opened my doors on August 1st, 2020.
Okay. Got it.
That was the first
I
day.
met you in 2021.
Almost a year later.
Yeah. And we've been working together since then. You're in Mastery Group. It has been pretty remarkable to me what you've created. I think what you've put together before I met you, just lifting something off the ground, but you had big aspirations and dreams on what you wanted this to look like. And even if you weren't 100% clear, you knew there was a reason that you were seeking out something. So can you speak to that? Like, why did you even look into a coaching group or anything of the sort?
Well, I had been, like I said, I didn't know what I was doing really with like starting a law firm. So I remember like I looked around online for like any podcast, anything about running your own law firm that I could find, because I knew I just it's like a very lonely thing. There's not a lot of people doing it. And there's definitely hard to find other people starting out. And so I was trying to find like a place where I could get information. And I stumbled across Ernie the attorney, his law firm Autopilot, and he interviewed you. And you were talking about like buffering and like some things that I knew from just my own personal development work and different things and turtle steps and progress and all this. And I was like, wow, that really resonates. So I started just listening to you. So I don't know if I was looking for a group, but I somehow found you, started listening to your podcast, and I listened to you for, I would have to say like a good 6 months, maybe even longer, before I finally reached out And I think I told you that story is that I was like, I'm not far enough along, I'm not enough. I shouldn't be, and I bet you mastery group is just so expensive. I won't be able to, swing the cost. But then I finally looked into it one day and I was like, oh my God, okay, that's a reasonable, rate. I can handle that. And reached out and we met, and it's been a year and a half now, a little over that, I guess. And the rest is history. So I don't know. I think it was kind of an intuitive thing. Like I just really felt like responded to your vibe. Like the stuff she's talking about, this is where it's at. Because the reason I opened the law firm was, one, I do want to make a difference. I want to help people, but also I want it to support my lifestyle. So that I think was the biggest thing that resonated with me, where I think some other law firm podcasts are like, make money, that whole thing, which, yeah, the money's nice. But the bigger reason for all of that is so that I can live the life I want to live. And that's where I really responded to you. So that was where I was like, oh, and she's teaching this whole way of being able to obtain that. It's not just like woo woo pie in the sky dreams. This is actually like there's a strategic path to having the life you want to lead. And own a law firm, like what? So I was all about it. Like
Yeah.
totally sold.
Well, you certainly done that. This year, you had a lot of wins this year, and I remember you sharing some,
Oh,
but
yeah.
the one that stood out to me was taking your son to Rome, just the two of you. It was just a dream trip for you. And
Yes.
it's because of the work that you've put in that was even an option. So
Yes.
I don't know, kudos to you. You're doing such a good job of staying connected to what matters most to you while you're growing your firm. That is totally possible. I think sometimes people think it's a pipe dream to have the life you want and have a growing firm that is really doing well and getting tighter and tighter and tighter in terms of infrastructure and processes and people. And I don't know, you've just done a good job.
To say that the beauty of finding you when I did, which was kind of early on in the process, turned out to be such a bonus, because as I've grown, I've been building this business on the principles that you teach in Mastery Group, which, means that like, I don't think I would have been so quick to find a paralegal and delegate, and just find ways to delegate and take time every quarter, a whole day, just to set my goals for that quarter and work on my business. And doing those things as I'm growing, it just ingrains it into me. So that, let's say 2.5 years, when I hit that 5-year mark, I'm going to have like all of these principles just ingrained in my business. Like this is just how we do things. And that's really valuable, because I know for some of my friends in Mastery Group that found you after they'd been doing things several years a certain way, they have a little bit of time to kind of undo some stuff, kind of to figure it out. And so if anybody's listening that's like, oh, I'm too early on in the process, like you have to listen to your instinct when you think the time is right. But there really is a benefit to starting this early. Once you've got a little momentum going, once you realize, okay, I probably need some help, I'm going to be growing. Like I would say, that's a good time to come in, because now you're going to have all of these principles as the foundation of how you operate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not reteaching yourself something.
I tend to say that people, like, once you made 100 grand, come on in. And not that people we've had people that are earlier than that and they do just fine as well. But there's something to be said for, you've got an established business, but now what? Like, are you just going to keep running the same game? Or are you going to get strategic about things now that you've got something to work with? And so I don't know if you agree with that or not, but
100%. Like, and I think I was close. Well, no, if you went from start to beginning, I probably was right around a little less than 100.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
But I was close.
Yeah.
Like I said, if you look at my revenue growth from the time I joined Mastery Group to now, it's more than doubled, way more. Yeah. I can't even, I don't know. I'd have to go look exact, because I usually just do it by the years, but it has really, I definitely doubled my revenue for 2022, doubled what I did in 2021. And I fully give Mastery Group and having that, the quarterly retreats and setting the goals and having goals for numbers and all of that as the reason that I was able to to do it. 100%.
Okay, so there's two things in my brain. One is that not only did you double your revenue, but you also doubled, well, I don't know if you doubled, but you exponentially increased your freedom and your ability to have space. And you're not done. It's an evolving journey, but it's not like, I mean, most people, if they don't take space to think as a business owner, and I really believe have facilitation so that they can really decide, make decisions and be pulled to make decisions, then they can hustle their way to double their revenue in some cases, but they're a shell of themselves when they get there. And so watching you, you're not a shell of yourself, and you have a bigger business than you've had, and you have more people working for you than you've ever had. Like everything is expanding for you, and including you. You're not being constricted or weighed down. It's like, I'm sure, I mean, we all have, as a business owner, you have weeks and sometimes months that feel heavy. Generally speaking, it's interesting you say that you do think people should do this earlier than later. I haven't really talked about that a whole lot, but I hear often that, and I agree with this. I've seen it happen where you get to a certain point, and let's say you want to increase your revenue and you put your foot on the gas without having the infrastructure that can really take it. And you and I talked about this a little bit before the recording, and so if you haven't given attention to things in the right ways and just been really thoughtful and deliberate about making sure your house is in order, then putting your foot on the gas to bring more money through the door will also double your problems. And it's like everything gets exponentially more intense and not in a good way. Whereas if you are really intentional and just like you're saying, you're infusing these things, it's just a part of what you do. It's a part of what the firm does. Then you can totally handle the growth with more ease than most around you. And that is cool. Like you have the capacity, your firm has the capacity to experience the growth in a way. And you as the owner have the capacity to experience the growth in a way, because it's not just money, it's people and it's processes and systems and clients, and everything gets bigger.
Yeah. And when you're relying on word of mouth or client referrals, how your clients experience your law firm is everything. So for me, it's like, if I get a whole bunch of people in the door and I can't support their case and I can't call them back, and I get, you hear people complain about, lawyers not being communicative. And, part of my whole brand is I'm a compassionate lawyer. Our tagline is where justice has a heart. That's our law firm. So we're very like client-centered, compassionate representation, a lot of hand-holding. Not all lawyers want to do that, but that's something I enjoy with my clients, really being there for them. But, I have to have the infrastructure in place so that I have the time to do that. And if I'm just the only one in the firm, just working like a hamster on the wheel, and then I have nothing left to give my clients. And what draws them into me is that ability to be present with them, to share, I've been through what you've been through. You get you on the other side. It's going to be okay, but this is how it's going to have to go. Walking them through the process. But you've got to have the ability to support your growth, because it does you no good if every time they call, they can't get a hold of you. You don't have a good staff in place. And now you're not going to get that word of mouth. Your reputation's going to suffer. You're going to end up having to fix things down the road while you're supporting this crazy amount of cases. So, and I don't work after 5. I don't, I do not work on the weekends. And I know you'll hear other lawyers be like, what? I didn't open this firm in order to be miserable. I know some people love working all the time. If that's your thing, that's your thing. I don't.
Right. Well, but many people, they say it like they have to. And I understand that there's some nuances and there's always exceptions to a rule, but it's just a decision. Are you gonna work nights and weekends or are you not? And what happens when you really make that decision, like seriously make that decision? You have to line up in a way that gives you the space to to stop working at 5 and not work on the weekends. So again, something I think you do really well, because you could easily say, you could easily work on nights and weekends. There's always more to do,
Definitely.
And everybody's circumstances are different. Like some people really are way past the point of needing a paralegal or an attorney, but I guess you're just proving my point even more. I think watching you because you take it really seriously. When we do our retreats, you are prepared. You bring your numbers, you know your numbers, and most people are in mastery group. And if they're not, I can help, right? But
Right.
you are prepared and you take it seriously where you evaluate what you really want, make sure you're lining up with that while you are fostering the growth of your firm. That takes a level of intentionality that many people don't know how to give. It's not that they don't want to, it's tough to give that level of thoughtfulness to it all.
Yeah.
So,
Especially if you're already overwhelmed with work,
yeah.
and so
Yeah.
that's been the beauty. Like I probably honestly, Melissa, could have grown faster.
Uh-huh.
I turn cases down.
Yeah.
I have to feel aligned with the client. My practice, that's why I have more than one practice area. I thought about niching down but I realized my niche is meeting people where they are in their crisis moment, whether that's a DUI arrest, whether that's their marriage is falling apart, they're in a custody battle, or maybe even in estate planning. Sometimes people come to me while they're already, like I just had a client come to me, she's stage 4 breast cancer and she passed away. And I got to be with her during that process. She just wanted to make sure her daughter was completely taken care of. So meeting people in these moments, all things I've gone through myself, all things I've been through myself, that's what really informs my practice. So I have to make space to have energy for that. Because if you're just numbers and you're just, working yourself to death, you'll hate it. You'll hate your clients. You'll hate the work. I mean, family lawyers notoriously, hate it. I don't know if like that's known why, but most lawyers know. And a lot of lawyers will say, I'll never practice family law because it's really difficult. So you have to take care of yourself. Cases can be heartbreaking, and so that's why that rule, I could work on the weekends. I have enough work. I could work at night. Every once in a while, I might have to work in the evening just to prepare for a hearing. It's very rare though. Like I keep it very rare, but I have to protect, and I have a family. So for me, I think the intentionality piece is so important because then you lose sight of it. And then it's like the law firm's running you.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And, I don't want, and that's why I opened was that my office, we have an office location, but our firm is run primarily virtually. We have like an office space when we need to meet, but I work in my home office. We even closed part of our garage and I do most everything on the Zoom, but I'm home with my kids. Now I'm not in the house with the kids on a day, but when they walk in the door after school, they come stop by if I'm not in a meeting or as close thereafter. And I make eye contact with those kids, check in. That is why I'm doing this. Like, this is why, I could work for someone else. I could do a whole bunch of other things, but it was like that lifestyle, like getting to be home with my kids in the afternoon, still contributing to our family, and then helping people and my team. So that's the other part that's been a whole new bonus, like the team part, it's like, oh, I make a difference in their lives. And that's been so rewarding. So I think like you help me stay focused. Mastery group, you always make us at the beginning of the retreat write down our why, and I think one time I was like, we do this every time and it doesn't change in my head, and then the other day I was like, yeah. And that's really good because then I just remember every quarter, what is my why? Like, why did I start this law firm? What, sometimes it does change a little, but it's pretty much stayed the same. But it's what a value to recenter
Yeah.
and spend that whole day. And I'll tell you the reason why we all like most of us show up ready to go is because you show up ready to go. So it's like we're all meeting your energy. It's like the energy you're putting out. You don't come in there half asleep. You're not half-assing anything. And we all know that. Like Melissa's going to expect you to be ready to go, And so, but it's like because you put so much passion in it and you're so in the moment with us that from all of us in the group that I, talk to regularly, like we feel like we have to meet you there.
That
And
means a
really,
lot. I've never heard someone say that before.
But that's why, we are matching what you're putting out.
Oh,
And
that's
then
cool. Well,
it brings everybody else up, because you see, like, we're all taking this stuff serious. So, and then of course, it's just you attract phenomenal people.
okay. You mentioned something before the call that made me laugh. So give your take on you and wanting to hang out with attorneys versus now
Oh,
I
so I
don't.
was just, yeah. So most of the time, and I'm sure people listening because know that like attorney groups that you go to in your community or bar association, and I don't want to paint too broad of a brush, but networking, BNIs, and all that kind of stuff that's out there. It's just like, no, like tell me I'm going to spend a whole day in a room full of other attorneys. No, thanks. Like, I just don't like that environment. Like, I feel like everybody can be very full of shit and just, trying to be the biggest whatever in the room. And I don't like that. But the people in Mastery Group, it's just, and I think part of it's because we're all in different jurisdictions. There's no competition for business, there's none of that going on. Really able to just be ourselves and share our struggles, share our wins. We cheer for each other. It's genuine. The people are genuine. I mean, we have our Monday MAP meeting every week, and I try never to miss it because I love checking in with these girls. We're all girls in our group, but like I love these girls to death. Like, and there's just no end to their generosity. As I have expanded into opening an estate planning part of the firm, a lot of Mastery Group members happen to be estate planners. They jumped at the chance to help me, oh, yeah, this is how we do this and use this template for this. And it's just like a resource. And then there's nobody else in the world that knows what it feels like to hang out, whatever they call that, hanging out your shingle or going out on hang a shingle and putting yourself out there and going through it. Like, as much as my wonderful husband is very supportive, he's an IT, he doesn't know what we're doing, he can't get it. Like, he just doesn't really understand it. But my peeps and Mastery Group do. And then there's such a blessing in that we can get past that bullshit, like of impressing each other, I guess. I think that's what a lot of lawyer functions do. And this is not that. It is very, people being willing to be vulnerable.
Yeah. And honest. I think
Honest.
that's the word. I mean, I think vulnerability does naturally happen when you are being honest. But if there is one thing in Mastery Group, it is that we tell the truth. That matters to me more than anything else. I am not interested in dancing around something. I want to understand the truth. And people in the group, we do attract a certain kind of person that's willing to be no bullshit. And that takes courage sometimes. So I think we have a really great group that's so warm and supportive. And sometimes we'll have people come in that just aren't the same. They don't value the same things. They weed themselves out, and that's fine, but it's open and welcome to anyone who is willing to. And when we say, just to be clear for listeners, because this could sound, which I don't really care if it comes across this way, but just to clarify, this could sound fluffy. But when I say the truth is in the numbers. So we talk a lot about numbers and knowing your numbers and starting there and then having conversations from the numbers about decisions and et cetera. Facts, not feelings. And that's why I want the facts so that we can work with something. Sometimes it's tough to get to that for yourself. But I think facilitation helps, and a really supportive community of people who are all interested in the same thing, and watching you all have a willingness to be uncomfortable, to say what it is and really get to it, whether it's a number, whether it's a problem you're having with a person on your team, or a marketing issue that it's like a nut you haven't cracked yet. Like, there's just stuff. And the people in there just have a willingness to show up and be present with that and participate in that. That is, I think, what makes it so meaningful. And
it's rare. I mean, you don't usually go into a group and say, this was my gross revenue, say it. I mean, that's like, oh, I'm from the South. We don't talk about money. You don't talk about what you make. But, when we all started sharing that truth with each other and stuff, it was so freeing. And it we all have these stories we tell ourselves, like I did, and realizing, oh, actually, there's just all different levels. And it doesn't matter. The revenue isn't the point. It is kind of the driving, I guess, number for the overarching, but it's like what you do, like you say, it's not reaching it. It's what you do on the way up there
Yeah. It's
It just changes everything. And it's truly, it is what happens. And we're also want to say, like, some of us that have been in for a minute, we're close, but we're very welcoming too to new people. And we've brought in some new people lately that are awesome. So, I mean, we're just more and more awesome people coming into this group. And I know, like, also, if you are a true solo and maybe you have a small staff or whatever, it's so lonely. It's just a lonely place. You're not in an office full of attorneys. And, a lot of us are used to that. If you've been in big law or you've been for the government or whatever, I was used to having like floors of different attorneys of all levels I could go talk to and bounce ideas off of. So to have this group, to be able to talk to them and share and just not feel just feel a sense of community. I mean, I think that's what there's like so many benefits to this. Literally, like there's some really obvious benefits. Like you're going to get a handle on your numbers. You're going to have goals. You're going to be more intentional, but you're going to gain like this amazing support system. You're going to grow as a human being and a law firm owner. It really has been probably one of the smartest things I've ever done for my business. The other thing I did, I hired a mentor. When I opened, now she handles more of my legal. So she's 30 years board certified in family law. She's winding down, I think, some of her practice, and she loves mentoring younger attorneys. And so, I've been working with her for 2 years on the legal, like the law. And I think like some specifics of running a successful family law firm. But then from Mastery Group is really developing me and then as a business owner.
yeah.
Totally
Yeah.
different skill than being a good attorney. And then also, knowing my numbers, having a handle on that, being really strategic about the growth and the vision. I'm just grateful. Like I said, I think I stumbled into this. I don't think I was looking necessarily for you. I think I just found you and knew like, oh yeah, this is what I need. This is where I belong. I need to try this. And now, I'm in it.
No, I'm so glad
Second
you did.
rating.
I am so glad you did. I am curious if you'd share with people. So there have been along your journey in here, you've been through, I don't know, at least 6 or 7 quarters of strategic planning. And you've had a lot of rocks in those times because,
Yes.
every quarter participants decide on what their key efforts and priorities are going to be for that quarter. Which ones stand out to you as the most meaningful? And you could take a second because you didn't know I was going to ask you this. In terms of projects you have completed because it was a rock.
Oh, that's a good question. Let me think about this for a second because it's been a lot. Well, definitely hiring staff, getting contract paralegal, contract virtual assistant. Now I have a marketing person, expanding my team. And those were always rocks. And, especially with the admin assistant thing, you were like, Christine. So I was just kind of holding back on I'm making it really hard in my mind, put it out there. And it was like, I was flooded. I didn't do Indeed, but I just went on my own network, social media, and I found this girl that's perfect. Anytime you're going to hire or bring somebody on the team, it's a big thing. And those rocks were really just totally shifted my business. Yeah, I think I've made a lot of hiring decisions and, definitely making those a rock. It's easy to just say, oh, I'll get around to it and put it off, but breaking it down and actually taking the steps to do it. And then the next time a new role comes up that you need to fill, you feel that much more confident to just get it done. And so that's been, life-changing for sure. I think I made a rock of like, and I don't need it now, but there was a time when I was doing all my own social media marketing. And I came up with a system for how to do a month's worth of social media in a day, implement that. Now I get to pass that off to a marketing person.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. And always trying to expand referrals. That's definitely something I've worked on, implementing different systems for that. And, building the system, implementing the system, I think is where I'm weaker.
Yeah.
But
that's true for everybody, but
yeah, right. But I could make, yeah. And and I think that's the other thing too, is because we're all so honest with each other, I came, you just come in thinking, oh God, if they all saw like how I am or whatever. And then you realize like we're all struggling with this. We're all struggling to balance it all.
Yeah.
And, some people have a quarter where they're just like in attack mode and they're getting all their rocks done. And then there's other quarters where it's like you didn't get any of your rocks done. It's rare. I don't think I've ever had one where I didn't do any.
But here, listen though, because what you're saying is true. People are going to have like ebbs and flows depending on what's going on internally and externally. But if you think about just because you're putting yourself in that situation to have accountability and pressure, because there is some in a positive way, you get more done than you ever would if you were on. So it's not about perfection. I think a lot of people think
way more done. Way more than you ever would.
There's so much progress that happens just by putting yourself in the environment of this that I see all your progress and you see what you fell short on. So
do you remember that post like Theta just put up? Theta's a member of our group and she's awesome. And she put up a post on Facebook in our group recently where she just listed like the progress that she'd made since joining. I think it was since joining, or was it just last year? But she killed it.
Yeah, totally killed it.
And it just showed me like, wow. Like, so I probably should, that'd be a good exercise for me to do too, just sit down and really list out everything I've done. But she, and it really does reinforce that little bit does add up, or just like, with a healthy lifestyle, right? It's like every little decision gets you further along. Maybe the unhealthy decision here and there, it's there, but it's not a reason to just quit. Like you fail, you don't complete something, but you just get better for the next time. And, and I think that willingness, like I'm definitely a recovering perfectionist, and being willing to be messy, progress over perfection, and just not giving up, just staying with it, keep on going, get done whatever you can get done. That whole attitude, it really, that's the key.
Yeah.
Success. Just
Absolutely.
keep on showing up. Keep on showing up. And I think Master Group helps you do that. It makes you keep showing up. And not every day that I show up am I like in the greatest mood. And I'm, sometimes, I'm like, don't even put my camera on in our group because I just don't want to, I just want to listen. I need to be in. And then other times I'm like really engaged and, want to hear what everybody's, I don't know. It doesn't require perfection.
Oh, no. I mean, actually, I feel like that's the antithesis of
Right.
what we're doing here, because it really is progress, not perfection. And the more you show up, the more progress you'll make. And sometimes it'll be slower than other times, but it doesn't matter. It's still progress just because you're showing up. And that is the difference maker. It's way, way more effective in playing the long game by being willing to have bits of progress consistently versus coming out of the gate strong, like flame up and flame out. And you take, 5 steps ahead and then 7 steps back. It's like your swings are bigger, but they don't get you the progress that just showing up consistently does. It's not as sexy. It's not as fun. It's not as thrilling, but
it's the real. I mean, and that's what working in your own law firm's like. I mean, you're the reason this thing's going, and you're showing up every day. And then, with this, you're just able to add this really important layer of intentionality to that showing up, and that's all that's required, I think, is just the willingness to be honest, the willingness to grow, and, and then from there, it's kind of like, wow, I've been floored. I mean, I know that I'm the reason I've been successful, and I made these decisions to get myself to where I am today, but there I am at a level of just like gratitude, like the right people showed up at the right time, the right decisions were made. And when I made the wrong one, I pivoted, I worked with it, I learned from it. I mean, I just always have that feeling of, I don't know, I'm never going to just quit because something gets hard. And I think in the past, that was kind of my, MO. And I mean, I don't know, I passed the bar. I mean, I've stuck with some stuff. There's some things I've done that are hard, but in general, it's a lot easier to start something. It's exciting, building it. Oh boy. And then you get to like, now it's like, here, you got to like support it and grow it and nurture it. And that's like really, it's hard. but it's a lot harder if you're not building it in a way that's going to support your lifestyle,
Yeah.
support what you want to do in the first place. And
And
so you're doing yourself such a huge favor by giving
yeah.
yourself the gift of a community and a program like this.
Well, I mean, what you just said, it's hard, but I think it helps too to understand it's only hard because that's what your brain is wired to do. Your brain is not a robot. And so you really have to train focus and train follow through and discipline. And again, there is no perfection with that. I mean, James Clear isn't perfect at it and everybody
Yeah.
puts him on a pedestal and like, sir, is he further along in the game? Yeah. Do I think I'm further along in the game at some things that we talk about? Yeah. But you know what? There's no perfection. We're all just beautiful messes, just continuing to learn and continuing to grow and expand our capacity to have the business and the life that we want. And that is important to stay anchored to. There's no like perfect vision. This is sort of a side note. Have you seen Jonah Hill's documentary that was just
No.
released? It was a documentary about his therapist.
No, is that on Netflix?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I think
It's
I
so
think
good.
I haven't seen it. Oh, I'll have to watch it.
It's so good because I mean, it talks a lot about these things, about this idea that exists. It's like a snapshot that people have of what they're supposed to be or what they're supposed to do or what they're supposed to shoot for. And the way he describes it is just really beautiful, but that it's all literally impossible. That snapshot isn't possible that most people have around some area of their life, whether it's the way their body should look, whether it's the way that their business should be, all of it.
Right.
Like they have a snapshot in their mind that with no real strategy on getting there, it's just clawing your way to try to get to this snapshot. And it's like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
And people do that all the time. We have a tendency to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a vision. I always had, what a good lawyer does or how a good lawyer is. Like I have very like high ideals, grew up in the law. I grew up around attorneys, really brilliant attorneys. But, being willing, I'm, really challenging that, you have to, be a walking Black's Law dictionary. You have to know every case law in the site. And, there are attorneys that are good at that. But, like accepting like, I am a good attorney because I've gotten this far. I've practiced a lot of law. But, my strength is in the compassion I bring to my cases. And that's not really something I don't think the law values that much. And so it's like I'm changing that snapshot, of what a good attorney looks like and what a good attorney can be and the service I'm providing to my clients. Having somebody just see you, and not just as like another client, another retainer, but like see you and your kids and get like this is really the most stressful thing an adult can go through besides death or jail is divorce. And I think, I'm challenging because family law has got a bad rap and there's a lot that needs to be reformed. And even with the criminal justice system and everything, I mean, I think a lot of the areas of the law could do with a little more compassion. And it's valued that much. When you listen to a lot of the other lawyer podcasts, it's about making money and becoming the toughest trial attorney out there on the billboard with your arms crossed. But, that's somebody else's vision. And my vision is this, and my clients, it resonates with them. So like, I'm not everybody's cup of tea. And, some people want that bloodthirsty bulldog gonna go to war. And sometimes that's necessary. It's not that I won't go to trial but it's like, what do you really want to get out of this case that's good for your family, that's good for your personal well-being? Like there's a lot of, you can just be traumatized by the justice system. And attorneys make more money, the more contentious it gets. So to have somebody's kind of like, I'm trying, and I'm not the only one doing it, but, being a part of that, like a new wave of attorneys is trying to, let's cool it down here and let's really think about, how we can actually help our clients, allowing their lives to be further made worse by unnecessary litigation.
Because the truth is, either path can be successful.
Right.
So pick what really lights you up. And for you, there's a path that clearly lights you up that maybe people don't associate with as much success, but they are sorely mistaken. And so
Right.
you're doing it. I
Yeah.
just had this thought. I don't know if this is helpful or not, but we were talking before the recording started that one of the moves you're going to make this year is to hire a contract attorney to handle the litigation. And
Family law. Yep.
and you said that's hard to let go of because a good lawyer wants to be in court and I've got to unwind some of that. But I was just thinking, listening to you talk about the kind of firm you want to build and how you want to serve your clients. That's like good lawyer is more like self-focused, where good service, like serving your clients well, is more, that's a different thing. And so if you going to litigation serves the firm being what it should be, then maybe you would do that. But that's not how this
Yeah.
needs to look at all. You can hire someone to fill that role. And that means you
Right.
are being a good lawyer because you are
Right.
creating this ecosystem that can serve more than just what you can do. It's bigger than you. It's bigger than that. And so I almost wonder if you play around with that a little bit, if what kind of wiggle room you can get from the like deep seated good lawyers like litigation and go to
Right.
battle and all of that. I don't know.
Yeah. And there is a role for more collaboratively minded attorneys. And there's definitely a move, we're more and more of us inching that way. But you will find, like in family law, there's an entrenched set of lawyers who like it the way it's been, and they make a lot of money because of the way it's been, and they distrust collaborative law and all that. So I'm a part of breaking out from those old definitions and being something different and really upfront with it. My clients, by no means do I let them think that I'm like, yeah, let's go. We're going to follow this. We're going to follow that. It's like, well, let's see what we can do to get you guys through this, get a settlement you can live with, and get you moving forward with your life. And if we can't do that, there are sometimes cases. I've got one this year that's going to be probably one of the biggest cases since I've opened my doors. That is just an awful, awful case where my client's gone through some really awful parental alienation, and he needs someone to fight for him. And I'm going to do that. It needs to happen. But that's the thing, because I don't treat every case like that. I have the space to dedicate that to his case, and it needs it. It does need it. Whereas most of the cases in family, they don't need to be going to trial.
They just need someone talented like you to be able to facilitate
Getting everybody to agree.
Yes.
Getting them to see. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because it just so much goes into, good negotiation. But I mean, I think you have to have a good handle on trying cases, evidence, courtroom demeanor, all of the stuff that I gained from my past. I was in the courtroom every day for a long time. So, that you need that. So I'm not discounting that as part of your growth, but there's a point as an attorney where you can decide, like, is this really serving me? Is this serving my clients that I'm going to always be? And like you said, so get that contract attorney, that associate attorney that's where they're at in their growth. They're ready to try, those attorneys that don't have kids, they just want to try cases, and and then they're in their zone of genius, doing their thing. That's just like you said, like serving my clients even more by having the person in there that really shines there. Yeah, no, I love that. That is like a big goal for me this year, is to find the right partner in that with me. And I know I'll find them. I found everybody else I've needed. So I just gotta, go trust, put out the right feelers, start talking to people, and I know I'll eventually find them. And I already found an amazing contract associate for the estate planning division who's been amazing. So I really am very grateful. This is a great time for me to have, 2.5 years, because, 5 years to me is like kind of the big, like, I don't know, for me, when I opened, I was like, when I've been in business for 5 years, I expect to kind of really be where I want to be. And I'm halfway to that 5-year mark, wherever I end up, but it's nice to just look back, take stock, getting ready to come to Atlanta and be with you for the core assets workshop. And I really felt like that was me, saying to, the universe, whatever, like, I'm serious, man. I'm
Yeah.
like, we're doing this,
Yep.
you know?
Yep.
And I know it's not going to be easy.
No, it won't be. But what comes out of that, I mean, that's, to me, So she's talking about a workshop that we offered just for mastery group members, and they can create 2 core assets. One is an accountability chart that like done, no wrapping things up after they leave. And then also a tracking metrics dashboard, upping their game with whatever they currently have. What are they going to do to get something dialed in? So the goal is no loose ends. When you walk back into your practice, the stuff is already working and you're going to keep working with it. I mean, those 2 things can light a firm on fire in a good way, because it's like getting organized in a way that you just can't without them. And so it is you getting serious and saying you're serious, and you will feel the effects of having done that work. Yeah, it's going to be.
I'm excited. I'm excited for it, but I am like, oh boy, here we go. Gotta look at this.
Yeah.
my tracking spreadsheet.
Yeah, totally.
I just like always.
One more point. Also, we were talking about before, maybe we pushed record. You're coming and we're going to work on your tracking dashboard, create like a really solid dashboard for you. And you were talking about how you feel like it's not really your strong suit, but you are more dialed. And as you're talking about, you go in every month and you input numbers, because now you have to have your numbers at strategic planning workshops. And so you're more on it. You feel the sense of inadequacy or insecurity around it. But when you think about before you started, you are light years ahead, and you have so much understanding of the numbers in your business.
I didn't have any kind of tracking, I don't think. I maybe like little weird spreadsheets in there, but I have like we track a lot. I like tracking, tracking conversions, tracking, all kinds of stuff. But yeah, keeping track of the money and the profit, the expenses, all of that stuff, so that I can see
cases,
like how
average case value,
all of that you've taught me to do. It's just been tremendous. And the making it math, it just, like you said, it's the facts, not feelings, making it math. It just makes it, it's forcing me to look at reality and not creating a whole story around it. It's just, here it is. And it's really freeing to do that. Whereas in the past, I was like afraid to do that. And I still struggle sometimes wanting to avoid it. But the more and more I've gotten used to it. And then I love like keeping track of my quarterly revenue, because I have a quarterly revenue goal right above I actually have it down right now, but I need to put it up. But usually I have it up above here. And it's just awesome to like be able to track that progress and hit it. Or even if I'm not on it, like I still know, like just having the guiding, principle of like, okay, this is my strategic plan to get here. It just, I don't know. It just makes me feel like I'm not just willy-nilly out here, just taking this case, taking that. They're like, no, I know. Okay, well, we've taken 4 family law cases this month. There's 3 estate planning cases. This case I'm looking at, do I really need this case? Do I really want it? I mean, and it gives me that ability to like have, when I know how many cases I need, where, and I know, so some people, it's like, whatever comes through the door, they're taking it.
Well, and the real question would be, do you want the case? Because could you say yes to all of them right now that you want? Is that yes? Because you got to get there.
No, I couldn't, because I don't want to take, like, if it's a very nasty contentious.
No, all the cases that you want. Like you want to take. Okay, so
I take all the cases I want.
And you have capacity to say yes to all the ones you want to say yes to. That's good.
Yes. Yeah. I mostly turn down just what's not in alignment.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. Yeah. That's great. I mean, thank you for sharing about yourself and about your experience, and congratulations for all you are doing such a great job, and it's so fun to watch your evolution. And I said this to Bobby Botnick, and I meant it, and I'm saying it to you, and I mean it. This is just the beginning. This is just the beginning.
Exciting. It's so exciting. I'm grateful to you. Thank you. Because like you've made this so much better than it could have been. I mean, I just am so lucky to have stumbled across, but like I said, I think it happened all for a reason. And I'm making like some really dear friends through this process, which totally wasn't looking for that. Wasn't it? How you get old, you're like, no more new friends. I can't do new. But I do. I want friends. Like these are wonderful people. So I'm just grateful to you. So like, thank you for showing up for us the way you do. And you always bring your full presence. And we feel that. And there's so many people that don't do that. out there,
Thank you.
especially in some of the coaching circles and things like that. So it's like really, it makes you different and special, and you inspire us to meet you there. So thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad I got to be here today.
Oh, me too. Me too. All right. You have a great day.
Okay, you too.
Okay, bye. Hey, you may not know this, but there's a free guide for a process I teach called Monday Map, Friday Wrap. If you go to velocitywork.com, it's all yours. It's about how to plan your time and honor your plans so that week over week, more work that moves the needle is getting done in less time. Go to velocitywork.com to get your free copy. Thank you for listening to the Law Firm Owner Podcast. If you're ready to get clearer on your vision, data, and mindset, then head over to velocitywork.com where you can plug in to quarterly strategic planning with accountability and coaching in between. This is the work that creates velocity.